Hello students, welcome to E-pg Pathshala. I am Dr. Renu Tyagi from Department of Anthropology, University of Delhi. Today I am going to discuss the module Aging, Disability and its Management from the paper Biosocial Gerontology. The learning objectives of this module are: number 1, to understand the aging and disability; number 2, to understand the different measures of functional capacity and disability; number 3 is to understand the factors influencing the onset and the courses of disability; number 4 is to understand the challenges faced by the elderly; and at the end we'll understand the management of the aging disability. First of all, let's discuss briefly the introduction. Aging is a universal process and is accompanied by the slow decline in the overall functions of the body. With the advancement in the technology and modern medicine, there is a remarkable improvement in the life expectancy. At the dawn of the 20th century, the leading causes of the death were infectious and the parasitic diseases that often claims the life of the infant and the children. However, the current scenario presents a shift, and non-communicable diseases have become the most common problems that affects the adult and elderly people, which impose great burden on the global health. In some countries, it has been seen that there is a remarkable decline in the fertility and increase in the longevity. The problem of aging is everywhere and it draws everyone's attention due to the age-related dependency, living conditions, though they are well-experienced citizens of the country. Age is not simply a biological function of the number of years one has lived or of the different physiological changes that the body goes through during one's lifetime, but it is a product of the social norms and outlooks that applies to each stage of the life. Age signifies the wealth of the life experiences that mold who we become. With the medical innovations that increases the life expectancy, old age has taken on a new meaning in the societies with the means to provide the high quality medical care. However, many facets of the aging experiences depend on the social class, gender, ethnic group, and other social factors. The pace and the timing of the aging population varies by a country and by a region. With the increase in the aging population, the old age dependency has also risen. The old age dependency ratio is defined as the ratio of the population aged 65 years and above to the population aged 20 to 64. One of the significant causes of the population aging is a decline in the birth rate. With lower birth rates, younger generations are lesser relative to the older generations, and this raises the average age of the population. Through the phases of the life courses, dependence and the independence level changes. An important feature of the increased life expectancy concerns the quality of the life of the older years. As more people cross the 65 years of the age, they are likely to be unhealthy, less active, disabled, isolated, and depressed. With the increase in the life expectancy and increase in the aging population, regardless of the time trend in disability rate by age, more people will be disabled and in the ill health. Now let's discuss about the aging and the disability. Disability is generally defined as the limitation in the ability to perform a given set of the functions and is generally considered in the framework of a process of impairment in which the specific physiological and pathophysiological processes advances over time, resulting ultimately in disability. WHO also defined disability as an umbrella term which covers the impairment of the body functions or the structure activity limitation, which is the difficulty encountered by an individual in executing a task or actions and participating. Restriction is a problem experienced by an individual during involvement in the life situation. Thus, disability is a complex phenomena reflecting an interaction between the feature of a person's body and the feature of the society in which he or she lives. Various points along the range may be identified. For instance, the earliest stage is marked by the presence of the preclinical indicators such as the measure of the inflammation or the reformed physiological control such as the high weight, blood pressure or cholesterol. These risk factors may be followed by the presence of the distinguishable diseases such as arthritis, hypertension, diabetes, heart diseases or peripheral vascular diseases which can progress. The functional status of the working age and the aging population has significant consequences, which can be socio-economic consequences. The use of the healthcare resources increases dramatically and progressively with advancing age after age 65 years, and this increase are seen mostly in those with the disability. It must also be stressed upon that disabilities which are most common late in the life can occur at any age. So it is very important to evaluate the current trend in order to prevent the likely future functional problems of they who enter late life. The primary focus of the studies on disability has been among those over 65 years. However, more recently there has been increased interest in the near elderly and younger age group as well. There has been a considerable debate on whether we are living healthier as we live longer or are we spending our additional years in the poor health. The answer to this have broad implications for the growing number of the old people around the globe. One way to look into the question is to see the rate of the changes in disability as a measure of the health and the functions. Some scholars believe that there will be a decrease in the prevalence of the disability as the life expectancy increase, which is termed as the compression of morbidity, where others see it as an expansion of the morbidity, that is, an increase in the number of the disability as the life expectancy increases. Another theory that some scholars believe is that the improvement in the technology and the modern medicine will slow down the progression of the chronic diseases. Consequently, the severe disability will decrease. Secular changes in the lifestyle like the smoking cessation, more physical exercises, public health care advances, etc., and advances in the detection and treatment of the disease and the physiological risk factors such as the hypercholesteremia that has led to the increase in the expectancy would also naturally delay the onset of the functional impairment. However, many anticipated that increase in the life expectancy would be burden to stasis or decline in the late life disability, leading to the compression of morbidity. This concept was popularized by the Fries in 1980. The result would be a total increase in the vigorous life expectancy and a gradually shorter portion of the life span spent disabled. On the other hand, some have debated that technological advancement in the treatment of the diseases might in turn may alter one's fatal illnesses to the chronic illnesses, increasing the duration of the disability as life expectancy increases. Now let's see what are the common measures of the functional capacity and disability. The principal measures employed in the long-term large-scale national studies include activities of daily living, that is ADL. These tasks are required to take care of oneself such as bathing, toileting, eating and dressing, etc., and are usually measured as difficulty in performing the said activities or receiving help in performing these activities. There are measures of severe disability and require the need for the personal care services and residency in a nursing facility for long-term care. There are instrumental activities of daily living, that is IADL. These tasks are associated with the capacity to live self-reliant, such as the cooking, shopping, managing finances, and using the communication devices, and are the measure of moderately to severe disability, and they require or the need for the support such as the homemaker and home health assistance. The physical limitations in the activities are also noticed. This type of disability include the inability to climb the stairs, walk, stand, or sit for a prolonged period, raise a heavy object over one's head, climb the stairs, stoop, bend, or kneel, grasp small objects or move large objects, etc. These limitations may reflect underlying diseases and may predict the inability to participate in certain occupations. There are the disability related with the cognitive functions. Cognitive functions include the processes such as the perception, memory, verbal skills, reasoning, and judgment. Many aspects of the behavior and cognitive functions changes with the age, including speed of processing, changes in the various vocabulary subsets, decision making, and most surveys evaluating the functional impairment have focused on the mental status, including the orientation to time and place, working memory, attention, language, calculations, and familiarity with the current affairs. For most cognitive measures that decline with the age, study shows the decline to be very difficult until at least age 70 years, and in most cases after the age of 75 years. Skirbeck et al. In 2012 proposed the use of a cognitive function-based measure, that is the Cognition Adjusted Dependency Ratio (CAGR), as a measure of aging in population that avoids the drawbacks of the simple age-based ratios such as an old age dependency ratio and measures based purely on the physical functions. According to the Canadian research, 5 types of the chronic illness contribute largely to the disability in the aged population over the age of 65 years and above, such as the foot problem, arthritis, cognitive impairment, heart problems, and vision. Other common and the important problems are the hearing impairment, chronic respiratory and cardiovascular diseases such as the chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, that is COPD, chronic heart failure, coronary heart diseases, and cerebrovascular diseases, falls, and hip fractures. In frail elderly people, a marked decline in the physical and the mental functions can result from the apparently small injury. This has been called the doming effect, with a small initial injury leading to the cascade of the adverse events. Now let's see the factors that influence the onset and the course of the disability. Disability is best seen as the function of the interaction of people's physical capacity with demands presented by their life situation and a number of lifestyle, social, and environmental factors that influence their ability to perform a task. Technology also has an important impact on the disability in many ways. This goes beyond the obvious benefits of the assistive devices such as hearing aids, glasses, hip replacements, and includes the aspects of everyday life. Education and income also influence the disability. Socioeconomic status, that is SES, has long been recognized as a major predictor of the mortality. Health status and disability in most analysis. Education has been used as a proxy for the socioeconomic status, which include income and the social status. Thorough analysis by Cutler and the Leras Monnet in 2006 and 2010 concluded that the health education gradient is found both for the health behavior and for the health status, and suggest that the cognitive ability and decision-making patterns explain a large portion of the gradient. The effect of the education on delaying the onset of the disability is robust, dose-dependent, and present across the lifespan, according to the Taylor. In addition to the leading to higher income and the professional status, it provides greater access to the health care, health insurance, and technological and personal assistance. There are a number of the other pathways by which the education might influence the onset of the course of disability, including the enhancement of the psychosocial resources, lifestyle differences like smoking and the exercise, presence of the fewer stressor such as the marital or the legal problems, and occupational factors. For instance, more educated individuals are less likely to be exposed to the risk of the injury common in agricultural, commercial, fishing, and construction work, etc. Poverty poses special risk as it is associated with the significant increase in many biological risk factors for its health and the disability, especially during the midlife and old age. Poverty is related to not only the onset but also to the course of disability. Regardless of the specific pathways operational in a given individual or a group, it is abundantly clear that well-educated, high-income individuals are at a greater advantage regarding the survival and functional capacity, while relatively less educated, poor individuals are at the greater relative risk. One of the important issues raised by the aging society is its impact on the productivity. Adaptation and innovation improvement in the productivity plays a central role in the growth of the long-run living standards, and an important aspect of a society is its ability to innovate and adapt to the changing condition. It is worth remembering that small changes in productivity growth will lead to the large improvement in the living standards over time. There has been the comparatively less research studies on the impact of the varying age structures on overall economic output, and there are many ways in which the changes in the age distribution can affect the economic output. The effects of the aging can be daunting, and sometimes the fear of the physical changes like declining energy, food sensitivity, and loss of the hearing and vision is more challenging to deal with than the changes themselves. The way people perceive the physical aging is largely dependent on how they were socialized. Therefore, if people can accept the changes in their bodies as a natural process of aging, the changes will not be as severe for them to handle. Now let's see the different challenges faced by the elderly. Aging comes with many challenges. The loss of the independence is one potential part of the process, as are the diminished physical ability and age discrimination. The term senescence refers to the aging process, including the biological, emotional, intellectual, social, and the spiritual changes. This section discusses some of the challenges we encounter during the process. Mistreatment and the abuse of the elderly group is often a major social problem around the world. With aging, the elderly group sometimes become physically frail, and this frailty renders them to become dependent on others for care, even for the small needs like the household tasks, and sometimes for the assistance with the basic functions like eating and toileting. Unlike a child that depends on the another for care, an elder is an adult with a lifetime of experience, knowledge, and opinions, a more fully developed person, which makes the care of providing situation more complex. The aging population is likely to influence the pattern of the healthcare cost in both developed and the developing countries in the year to come. In developed countries, the short-term care and institutional long-term care services are widely available, and the use of the medical care services by adults rises with the age, and so the per capita expenditure on the healthcare are relatively high among the older age group individuals. The increasing number of the older people is placing an upward pressure on overall health care expenditure in the developed world, although other factors such as the income growth and the advances in the technological capacities of the medicine generally play a much larger role. Most aged people above 70 years lose their ability to live independently because of the limited mobility, virility, or other declines in the physical or cognitive functioning, which makes them require long-term care, which includes the home nursing, community care, and assisted living, long-term hospital care, etc. The cost associated with providing this support may need to be borne by the families and the society in poor countries and less developed countries that do not have an established and affordable long-term care infrastructure, which might force the other family members withdrawing from the employment or school to care for the elderly relatives. As more people from developing countries look for the better opportunities and jobs in the cities or more developed towns, their aged relatives back home will have the less access to the informal family care. Now let's see the management of the disability. The measurement of the disability is evolving and has been a rising interest in the development of the additional measures of the disability that accounts for the technological changes. For example, the individual who previously were considered to have instrumental activities of a living, that is IADL disability, due to the inability to shop or pay the bills, can now do these things online and are more sensitive to the impact of the environment on functional capacities, including the factors that restrict participation in activities. There has been interest in measuring a broader range of the functional ability. A set of new self-reported measures has been developed and validated and will first be deployed in the Emerging National Health and the Aging Trends study done by the Friedman et al. In 2011. In the developed world, older people often leave the formal workplace in their later years, although they may continue to contribute to the society in many ways, including the participation in the informal workplace, volunteering, or providing the crucial help for their families. There is no physiologic reason that many older people cannot participate in the formal workforce, but the expectations that people will cease working when they reach a certain age has gained credence over the past century, in addition to having acquired the more knowledge and jobs skills through the experience than younger workers. Older adults show intact learning and thinking, although there are some declines in the cognitive functions, most notably in the speed of information processing. Moreover, there is some evidences that staying in the labor force after the age of 55 is associated with the slower loss of the cognitive functions, perhaps because of the stimulation of the workplace and related social engagement. Even physical abilities may not deteriorate as quickly as commonly assumed, although relatively little is known about the relationship between the age and productivity. In future, the need for the long-term care services, both formal and informal, will be determined mostly by the changes in the number of the people in the old age groups, in addition with the development in disability rates. With the increase in the life expectancy and the numeric growth of the older generations, demographic thrust will likely raise the demand for the health care. This growth could be lessened by a drop in disability among older people. The narrowing gap between the female and the male life expectancy, reducing the widowhood, could mean an increase in the informal care by the older spouses. The built environment can also be important, as the absence of stairs or the presence of the elevator, ramps or electric wheelchairs dramatically improve the mobility. Lastly, but important, social activity has always been shown to have a close dependent favorable impact on the development of the ADL or IADL disabilities. Some other important aspects of the management includes providing treatment for any treatable problem contributing to the disability. Age-related disability should not be viewed as untreatable. We should look for the treatment and contributing problems which are feasible, such as the uncontrolled cardiac, respiratory or metabolic diseases like heart failure, hypothyroidism, reversible causes of hearing loss such as the VEX, and potentially treatable neurological diseases such as tumors. Reviewing the drug treatment, medication can also contribute to both the problem of the disability and the solution. Polypharmacy and the increased susceptibility to the drug side effects are some of the issues surrounding the medication in the older people, which should not be ignored. Vitamin D deficiency should be recognized and treated among the elderly. The Department of the Health has recommended that people over the age of 65 years take vitamin D supplement. Early mobilization also plays an important role. Early detection and prevention is necessary for providing a better quality of the life for the elderly, including the frequent exposure and screening to the healthcare system to prevent any chronic disease with proper medication. Nutritional support also plays an important part. Elderly people have relatively more body fat and less lean body mass, resulting in the lower metabolic rate. Therefore, the calorie needs are reduced, so the diet need proportionately more protein, essential fat and micronutrients. So avoiding obesity is also beneficial for the elderly. The aim to meet the minimum nutritional requirement to provide the adequate dietary fiber and address the specific disease risk such as cardiovascular diseases, stroke, diabetes and osteoporosis. Oral health and the provision of the dental treatment are very important. The comprehensive rehabilitation is also important. Occupational therapy and the provision of the aids can improve the quality of the life. Providing friendly home adjustment such as the grip rails, stair lifts and removal of the danger such as the loose carpets or inappropriate footwear can be helpful. Now let's summarize what we have learned so far from this module. As one grows older, the body physiology also tend to deteriorate and eventually causes the health problems in the form of the mental and the physical inability to perform accordingly to one's expectations. It is a continuous process from birth to death, which encompasses vast domains like the physical, social, psychological and spiritual changes that are attributed to old age. The pace of aging is not uniform around the world, region and development level. With the advent of the modernization and urbanization, people have moved into cities and towns looking for the better job opportunities, leaving their aging parents behind. With the increase in the life expectancy, which means more years in the old age, there is a need to focus on the intervention and programs for the healthy aging. Aging population is leading to a significant increase in the age-related pathological conditions, including the dependence and the disability. Disability, which is commonly considered as an irreversible condition of the advanced age, so preventive action need to be taken before the disability cascade is fully established. To prevent the disability, older patients need to be identified and specifically evaluated starting from the general population through a close association between the general practitioners and the temporary geriatric setups. Well-planned housing accommodation and healthcare facilities should also be made available at affordable cost for reducing the stressors one has to undergo during the aging. With the increase in the life expectancy and the numeric growth of the elderly population, demographic thrust will likely raise the demand for the healthcare. This growth could be lessened by decreasing the chances of the disability among the elderly people. This can be achieved by providing the proper care according to the specific needs among the elderly patients, by providing the healthy dietary patterns, better hygiene and sanitation and friendly environment, etc. Thank you.